Hi everyone, welcome to Tales of Dread. In this story, a group of friends spends time at a cabin owned by the family of one of the friends. Something scary happens to them, and one of them goes missing. Keep watching. This is something you won't want to miss. If you just found the channel, please think about subscribing because it will help the channel a lot. Click that bell, smash that thumbs up, and tell a friend. Now let's get into it. 2011 4th of July weekend. A friend of mine, whom I'll call Todd, got into a pretty strange situation. The story, as he told it, is below. I thought we were going to have a fun weekend at Todd's friend Troy's cabin in the hills and woods. Troy was supposed to put Todd in touch with a girl he had also invited over. As luck would have it, Todd was looking forward to some sneaky fun over the holiday weekend. Todd's new partner. They liked each other, and soon they were downstairs having fun on their own. Shortly after Todd and his date went downstairs, they were gone. Troy chose to go outside for a while. A short time after that, Todd and his date were making out. When he heard strange voices upstairs, Troy went back to his cabin with some other people. Todd went upstairs to look around. Todd was upset to find that Troy had brought home a guy he didn't like. For the sake of this story, we'll call him Ace. Todd got mad, and then he and Troy got into a fight while poor Ace just stood awkwardly by the doorway and looked confused. When Troy's girlfriend walked in, she was just standing next to a switch with a confused look on her face. At first, Todd ran upstairs in his boxers because he thought it was just guys who had come. So he and Troy went downstairs quickly to talk more. As Todd and Troy's fight got less and less, Troy, his girlfriend, and Ace decided to go night swimming in a nearby creek to cool off for a while. Troy threw on Todd's shorts to go swimming, even though they had Todd's keys, wallet, and cigarettes in the pockets. When Todd realized what had happened, Troy and his group had already been gone for a few minutes. So Todd and his date went downstairs and stayed there until Troy, Ace, and Troy's girlfriend came back to the cabin. As soon as Todd heard them come in, he went upstairs to talk to Troy, who was furious. Todd had yelled about the things in his pockets and asked for his shorts back. During Troy's swim. As Troy and Todd argued back and forth for a while, Troy's girlfriend, Todd's date, and Ace tried to blend into the background. When Todd told Troy to take off his shorts right then, Troy told him that they wouldn't be getting naked in front of everyone. Then Aces came in to defend Troy, which made the fight even worse. Ace, on the other hand, knew that Todd had a pretty good reputation for fighting and not losing. So, he jumped right into the argument to sort of prove himself to Troy. Troy and his girlfriend left again in Todd's shorts after a little more fighting. Ace stayed behind, though, for some reason. Maybe Troy had left without his backpack, which had all of his important and personal things in it. Todd and his date eventually went back downstairs to continue their date. Ace stayed upstairs of course, and hung out with Todd's pit bull. They all thought that Troy and his girlfriend would come back at least to get his backpack that night. But when they all woke up the next morning, they realized that Troy and his girlfriend had not come back to the cabin. No one could figure out what Troy was up to. But Troy had left his cell phone in his backpack, so everyone just waited around the cabin for him. The second night went by, and neither Troy nor his girlfriend called. When they woke up on the third day and still hadn't seen Troy, they finally started to worry. Alarm bells were going off for the three of them. Todd decided to call Troy's girlfriend again, like he had done the day before when she didn't answer her phone when it rang. When she did, she was afraid to answer because Troy wasn't at the cabin like she thought he would be. So she and Todd decided to start calling around to see if they could find Troy, but no one had heard from Troy at all. Then, a scared man Todd asked a few friends to come to the remote cabin to help him look for Troy in the nearby woods. No sign of Troy was found at all. Todd was the one who decided to call Troy's girlfriend and have her call the police to report that Troy was missing. She did that, but when they asked where Troy was last seen, she told them the truth. She said that Troy was last seen having a heated argument with Todd at his cabin. The problem with that was that Todd had a reputation for fighting and usually not losing. When the next things happened, Troy had been missing for 3 days, so he was considered lost. At that point, it sounds like the police decided to take it seriously. The next morning, Todd, his date, and Ace were all fast asleep when they heard people running around on the roof and the front door being kicked in. The police rushed in and put down the 3 people inside. At one point one of the SWAT officers said, "I'll shoot you and that freaking dog." As soon as he heard that, I jumped up from the floor and asked, "Why are you going to shoot the dog? Do not kill the dog." The dog was not hurt in any way, of course. The 3 people were then questioned by 2 detectives who played the usual roles of the good cop and the bad cop. Todd, on the other hand, was the last person to be seen with Troy, and the 2 of them were fighting. Todd also had a reputation for being a fighter. That made Todd the number 1 and only suspect in Troy's disappearance. It didn't help that some clothes left by the hot tub had drops of blood on them, even though Todd said he didn't know those clothes were there. Search and rescue had been called in to look through the woods for signs of where Troy might be. While Todd, Ace, and Todd's date was still being questioned, they looked for hours, but they mostly focused on Todd. After a couple of hours of questioning, Todd finally got mad and said that since Troy had been missing for 3 days, he could be dead or alive, but they should focus on finding him. Todd and the others didn't know that search and rescue had already found Troy deep in the woods, hours away from the cabin. Troy was found sleeping naked on a big rock just hours before he died. The next thing Todd, his date Ace, and the detectives heard was the sound of the search and rescue helicopter's blades cutting through the air and getting closer to the cabin. When they looked out the door, they saw the approaching helicopter with Troy in a blue diaper-like thing hanging from it. The helicopter was looking for a safe place to drop Troy so that emergency workers on the ground could reach him. At the time, the situation was still cloudy. A couple of days later, Todd found out what happened before Troy went missing. Troy and his girlfriend left the cabin on the night he vanished to take a walk in the woods around the cabin to cool off after their fight. However, right before they left for the walk, Troy's girlfriend stole his debit card. Troy and his girlfriend got into an argument not long after they started walking. After that, they got separated, and Troy's girlfriend had to walk back to the main road to call a ride, leaving Troy in the woods and assuming he would find his way back to the cabin. So, basically, Troy's girlfriend turned off her phone for the next few days, so she wouldn't get angry phone calls from Troy about his debit card while she was out partying. When she finally turned her phone back on, Todd called her worriedly about Troy. She was shocked to find out that Troy had been missing for a few days. Even with what was going on, Troy ended up doing pretty well. Soon after that, Todd moved out of state, which pretty much ended their friendship. As for Ace's, Todd's day, and Troy's girlfriend, well, I guess they're on the way, you could say. I'm almost certain, though, that none of the people in this story will ever forget what happened at the cabin during those 3 deadly days. Well, I hope the story tonight was fun for you guys. Please like, comment, and follow. Give me your best guess about what happened to Troy in those woods here, in the comments. Did something else hurt him or make him feel bad? What happened to Troy that left him naked and alone in the middle of the woods for 3 days? I doubt it was his girlfriend. Good night and keep being scary.